Here we look at a past papers question for triads, and we will see that the first question we are always asked is, what are the three notes at X? So I'm just going to highlight the part at X now and zoom in a bit closer so you can see how this part of the question works. So here we can see in bar 1 there are three notes that are marked at the X point. You'll see these three notes are marked inside a square, which is highlighted here in the blue color. So you can see here now that I have attached the part A question and circled the three notes that you have to answer. The first circle note is on the fourth space. So our four spaces are FACE, so the fourth space is E. The second note we have to name is on the third space. Our spaces are FACE, so our third space is FAC. And the last note circled above in blue, we have to know is on a line. It's on the second line, and our lines are EGBDF, so the second line is EG. So now we have part A answered. We have three notes, E, C, and G. These three notes make a triad or a chord. The chord or triad will not necessarily be in any particular order, and now we will take a look at that in part B. Part A in this question forms the answer for parts B, C, and D. When we read part B, we'll be asked to make a triad based on the notes from part A. This is where we use our claw method to make our chord. In part B, I have underlined the four chords or triads they are asking for. One of these will match up with part A, and that will be your answer. Let's take a look at the first triad they are asking for, A minor. Using the claw formula, we start on A, so we have A, C, and E. We can now write this in on top of the A minor chords for rough work and see that ACE does not match up with the letters in part A. We now move on to our second possibility, which is the triad of C major. So using the claw formula again, we have C, E, and G. We can have a look at the C major chord and see that the letters C, E, and G do actually match up with part A. They don't necessarily have to be in the correct order, they just contain the three letters. So they have C, E, and G direct match, and that will be the answer for part B. We will now just finish off the question part B, just to show you how the chords of F and G are formed, just in case you're still a little bit confused on how to form triads or chords. We can see our third chord is F major, which contains the notes using the claw formula, F, A, and C. So we can now draw them in on top of the chord F. The final triad they ask for is G minor, so let's form that now. So we have G, B, and D using the claw formula. So we can again draw the GBD on top of the G minor chord. So looking at the four triads in question B, now we can see the direct match confirming our four answers that we've got from forming the chords or triads in part B. We can once again see that C major has the note C, E, G, which are in our answer part A for a direct match. So our answer is the second option. In our exam, we must make sure to highlight the correct answer being C, E, G, C major, so we put a circle around that answer. Now that we have part A and part B done for the question, we can focus on part C. In part C, we are asked to name the triads that we got from our answers in parts A and B. So from part A, we can see that we are looking for the notes E, C, and G. Then in part B, we took E, C, G, put this triad in order, and made the chord of C major, C, E, G. In part C, The most important thing to note is we are asked how the triad is written in the bass stave. The bass stave has a different rhyme than the treble clef. If we take a look at the 4 arrows in blue, they are all pointing to how the bass stave looks. It looks similar to a number 9 and looks completely different to our treble clef. To help us answer this question simply, I will now drop in the names for the bass notes below the question. Now we can see our bass lines and spaces. Our 5 lines in the bass clef are underlined in red: G, B, D, F and A. The rhyme for the 5 lines is Great Big Dogs from America, or Good Boys Deserve Food Always. Now we move to our 4 spaces underlined in blue: A, C, E and G. All cows eat grass. Now we are ready to answer our question referring to our table below with the names of the notes on the bass clef. We can see in our first option above the blue arrow, we have 3 notes in our triad. These notes are 3 spaces on spaces 3, 4 and 5. So when we look down to our table, we can see that spaces 3, 4 are E, G, and then to complete the triad, we have E, G and B on spaces 3, 4 and 5. So when we look down to our table, we can see that spaces 3, 4 are E, G, and then to complete the triad, we have E, G and B. In our second option, we have 3 lines, lines 1, 2 and 3. When we look down to our lines table below, we have the lines 1, 2 and 3 are G, B and D. In our third option, we have another 3 lines. We have lines 3, 4 and 5. When we look down to our lines table, we see lines 3, 4 and 5 are D, F and A. When we look at our final option, we see there are 3 spaces, spaces 2, 3 and 4. When we look at spaces 2, 3 and 4 in our table, we see we have the notes C, E and G. We can see that our fourth option, the final option, is the answer because it contains C, E, G, which is the answer from part B and A, and it's a direct match. This completes the answer for part C. We will now take a look at part D in more detail. The answer for part D will also be the triad we have formed from the answers in part A, B and C. We can clearly see in part B that the triad is C major, containing C, E and G. In part D, we can see there are 4 options with bar numbers, bar 4, bar 6, bar 9 and bar 15. We are now going to take a look at the music for each bar individually, starting with bar 4. We simply name the notes in bar 4, followed by bar 6, then bar 9 and finally bar 15. I will put a circle around the notes in bar 4, bar 6, bar 9 and bar 15 now. Taking a look at bar 4, we have the note E, then we have E again, then we have G, then we have C, and finally D. In bar 6, we have the note F going down to A, which is repeated, then we go up to D, which is also repeated, and then down to C. In bar 9, we have the note A, up to B, up to C, then that's repeated C, back down to B and back down to A again. In bar 15 we have the note B going down to G, going down to F, back up to G, up to B and up to D to finish. As we look from our answers parts A, B and C, we are looking for the answer triad for C major, which has the notes C, E and G. In part D we are looking for the notes that have the best fit for this chord of C, with the notes C, E and G. We can see in bar 4 that we have the notes C, E and G. Bar 6 has the notes F, A, D, G and C. Bar 9 has the notes A, B, C, C, B and A, and bar 15 has the notes B, G, F, G, B and D. So we can see our answer is bar 4 because it contains the notes C, E and G. And we can see from the other bars 6, 9 and 15 they are not a great fit with the notes C, E and G. We can now go back to our question part D and put a circle around our answer, which is bar 4. I hope the two videos on triads, the triads preparation and the triads sample question and answer have helped you understand how to complete this question for your junior cert. The only additional knowledge you will need to know for this question is the names of the notes below and above the stave, called ledger lines, shown in the image above now. For higher level only, there will be a further video on how to approach whether a chord is major or minor, which will help in part B for this question.